or maybe it might not happen. So already I can tell I messed up a little bit, and what I should have done was put the word proposed at the top, because that's really all we're talking about here. Again, my name is Jonathan Patrick. I'm the real property officer of the city of Eugene. I don't have a badge or anything. I'm just like the real estate guy, you know. I primarily deal with right-of-way acquisitions, easements, real property acquisitions for parks and various infrastructure needs. I was asked I'm here tonight to reach out to you all, introduce myself, and just kind of get your input. Well, not kind of, just to get your input. As you know, there's a remaining section of River Road and a small 300-foot section of Irvington Drive that are inside the urban growth boundary, but they're still under Lane County jurisdiction. All we're talking about is the road right-of-way itself, which is, again, controlled by Lane County. There is no private property being considered for annexation at this time. I know council has a firm stance on all private annexations being voluntary. So the primary goal here is to get your input, see what you think. If it was to go through and the city was to apply for annexation, and Public Works Engineering would be the applicant, what we would do is, if it was approved by council, would be to annex that remaining section of River Road and that small section of Irvington Drive. And that would bring the road right-of-way under city control. And then follow-up to that would be through a jurisdictional transfer. Public improvements would be transferred from Lane County to the city so that better public works services could be provided to your community along that section of road, those sections of road. And that's really kind of about it. I'm really just here to get y'all's input, and that's what I'm here for. So.
Why are you doing it? I'm just curious.
To provide better public works services along those stretches of right-of-way, including the street lights, wastewater, to bring them up to city engineering standards. That's why it would happen. Let me just reiterate. This isn't written in stone. This hasn't been determined yet. No one's decided this is happening yet. This is an idea that we're floating by you guys first. So.
Right, but so that's why we have questions. So is it because you guys want to work on it soon? And what do you have, or is there future plans to do work on it that you know of?
I don't know of any future plans to work on it at this time.
So to me, this is a precursor to a full annexation. You probably won't admit that. I mean, you get control of one thing and then it's going to go from there for time. I think that's what it's at. I think it's a precursor. And I don't want to be annexed because I don't want to pay the Eugene city taxes.
Right, and I understand that concern. I know there's a lot of folks that have that concern. There is no annexation of private property that is a part of this proposal.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a precursor. All I'm saying.
Okay. Well, just to reiterate, annexation of
people don't like it.
I understand. Trust me, I understand.
We already got to put, you know, sewer in. We didn't want that. That was against the law. Sign on that. So, but we weren't doing that. Yeah, you're right.
Because public works, everybody needs public works. Ours will just find it.
Right.
You're standing.
Okay.
And we
I
don't
appreciate
trust
that.
You said what? Like public
I'm sorry?
We don't trust you.
Oh,
Okay.
City, our city.
What's the purpose of this? What's the benefit? And what's the benefit? That's what
So the question is, what's the benefit to having the annex? You can repeat the question.
Sure.
You answer them would be.
Sure. So, you know, from Public Works view, the benefit of the annexations of these sections of road right-of-way would be to provide better public works services to the community, such as better wastewater, better streetlights, better public improvements.
Where's the fine now?
What's the 25 and 50-year plan to this? Exactly. Where is it leading from here? Annexation takes effect. What's in the future works from that point?
You're asking what the 25 to 30-year plan is.
Or future, where is this leading to aside from the taxes, city taxes, which we all know are charged.
So where this would be leading with your private property taxes in relation to the annexation of these road right-of-ways?
You show it as two, and when I went up to look closer, it looks sort of like to me, if I read the maps correctly, it's kind of a continuum. Irvington Drive is blended in, if I read it correctly. It's a continuum, but it's presented as two separate mapping strategies, so to speak. Unless I misread Irvington Drive and they seem to overlap or meet up with one another.
There's a commercial property at that corner.
Yeah. Unless I'm misinterpreting. Clarify that. And the 20-year plan after this, if this annexation goes through, is the beginning of takeover of the world.
So as far as the piece about a 20-year plan in relation to these proposed road right-of-way annexations, I'm not aware of any 20-year plan. No one's told me of one. I've been asked to just come here and get y'all's input about how you feel about these sections of road right-of-way being brought under city annexation.
I think that's what some of the folks there are expressing, is there's no trust quotient there with the city. They take this much, and then they take that much, and then they take this much, and often without the proper meetings or acquainting the citizens of what they're really, truly are doing. And that is another piece of the mistrust. So you can take that back to the city.
Just mention how you made everybody hook up to the sewers when their septic systems were working just fine.
Yeah.
And how much more we pay every month for the wastewater runoff now that we never had to pay.
And I want to say that there is no drainage at the end of our road. It just goes and sets it. But yeah, we have to pay wastewater.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the deal, they said. We've been doing it for 35 years.
So I think it sounds like, thank you, that's very sweet of the city to offer to annex it, but it was interesting.
No, it's very polite.
Well, whatever it is, we're not, it sounds like no one's interested. We don't see the benefit.
Are there other more fully developed engineering plans have here?
No, we don't have that. This is all we have because we're literally just in the baby stages of even talking about this. This is our first step. It's tonight. Is talking about. So
That's something.
So what are you actually offering that we don't already?
The question is,
what are we actually offering that you don't already have?
Right.
My understanding is that we're offering to provide better public works services to bring it up to city standards.
Okay, well, we're not.
What does that mean?
We're
For example,
We have drainage, we have wastewater.
I mean, does it mean more street lights? Does it mean more,
That's what he
what does
said.
it mean? City standards.
To bring them up to the same standards as the already annexed portions of road right.
This is not part of
Is
it.
would
So
be
what
This
can
might
you
be
give an
a-
example of something that might fall into that rubric?
I'm not an engineer, so I don't think I could I could have an answer for you that would be meaningful. But what I could do is I could give you my email address if you'd like, or my phone number, and I could follow up with you. Would that be okay?
I'm just thinking in terms of the larger.
I understand.
I could provide a little information, but I think it would be a good opportunity for Becky Taylor to talk to us about, so Becky is here with us from Public Works from Lane County, and it would be a good opportunity to hear from the county and their perspective about what the possible benefits to us might be for road transfer jurisdiction. Becky?
Thank you. So Lane County is supportive of annexing this portion of River Road and transferring it from the county to the city, just because the patchwork of jurisdictional mix in the area between the city and county just leads to a lot of complexity for everyone. We do have an intergovernmental agreement with the city the county and the city, for some efficiencies around maintenance, where Lane County will maintain the roads north of Beltline and the city will maintain the roads south of Beltline. But there's a lot of other things that happen other than just routine maintenance. And that could be something from someone trying to get a driveway permit. And if it's under county jurisdiction, they have to go through our permitting office. So it's really an efficiency measure. It's my understanding that this isn't a prerequisite to some huge capital project underway. And I'm hearing some of the questions about, so what does this mean? What are we going to see? What are the changes? And it's my understanding that this isn't, again, something that's needed to implement some vision or some change that we haven't unveiled yet, but just another incremental passage of a road that looks and feels like a city street, to just give the city the jurisdiction of it. So they have the regulatory and permitting review and maintenance responsibilities for things other than routine beyond our intergovernmental agreement. And so from an efficiency standpoint to our customers, that's all of you, Lane County is supportive of this change, this proposal.
I have a question too. Okay, so we'll start back here.
So I appreciate everything that Lane County has done for us. And I just think that at this point, keep doing your job. You know, we as residents want you to keep doing your job. Thank you very much, Lane County. Whatever you have going with the city, I'm sorry about that, because we're not involved in that. We're the residents here and you work for us. And we don't want the city of Eugene to take over River Road. I'm sorry it's so overwhelming from that point to that point. But you're doing a good job so far and we trust you to keep it up, okay? We've lived here almost 35 years. I have no complaints. I think you're doing a great job. I personally think you should get out of whatever thing you have going with the city. Watch your back.
About that roads in Eugene, that aren't as bad as they are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. You guys should focus on that. There are some of them. They're potholed. It's bad.
Yeah.
Take it back to them.
You brought up an issue when you were first speaking about there's an issue with getting permits for like putting in a driveway or something like that. Is there an issue with that new project going, or like you said, you weren't aware of that being a precursor to something, but yet there are some real signs of that happening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give the impression that Lane County isn't wanting to work for you, that this is such a headache for us to administer these driveway permits. It's not that. It's more of again, it sounds like governmental language to say an efficiency, but another example that comes to mind is the City of Eugene police can enforce within their city streets, within their right-of-way, within their jurisdiction. And as you know, from parking to traffic violations. And as you know, Lane County doesn't have a traffic patrol team. Our enforcement officers are really limited. I know that's been a concern amongst many of you neighbors, that when you call the sheriff's office, it takes a while for someone to get out there. So that's one of the efficiencies, is that city services are closer to you, and annexation and jurisdiction enables delivery of that type of service.
That's not my issue here. I don't know. Go ahead.
I have a question over here.
It's more of a statement to some of the coding and permitting issues. Where I live, I've just moved here a year ago, and I've probably called the city and the county about 3 different times just to ask questions pertaining to coding and permitting. And I have spoken with really nice people in each department who are a little confused as to who has jurisdiction over my property. So I think to what you're both saying is, I'm not, thrilled about any type of annexation into the city. However, I do understand the complexity, and it is a real thing. It is a real thing. I have neighbors who have, you know, Eugene Water and Electric. They don't really qualify. Apex will only pick up a portion of their stuff, and disposal is done compartmentalized. So it is actually very complicated. So I think what you guys are talking to, there is a real complexity. So that's all.
Okay, yes, I understand what you're saying. I still understand, but my mother-in-law lives in, I live, check it out. I'm city and I'm still here, okay? My mother-in-law lives one street up, she's county, okay? I'm paying tons of taxes.
Yeah.
Double her taxes.
Yeah.
She's building a second house on her property. All of her coding is having to go and her permits to the city. But you know what? She doesn't have to pay those taxes. We're gonna start annexing. She's gonna have to start paying my taxes. That's what we're walking into here. So if y'all wanna pay my taxes, have at it.
There's just one question about EPD. If you actually talk to them, or at least they tell you, they can't serve what they have already. They're underserving. So they just don't have the money. The person told me they had a tax that they put in for a payroll tax to facilitate more police service. So you're going to annex to get better police service from a department. They can't even fulfill what they got now. That's according to their own information. Makes no sense.
Not only is the city short-staffed on law enforcement, it's kind of planned. Because I live down in the Whitaker and I frequently have to call the city police. And I live alone and I have a disability and it's very dangerous. The criminal activity has just ballooned. And when I call for their services, they don't even send a cahoots. They don't send anything. I'm a frequent caller. They know me. They say, "Hi, Jen, is this you?" And I said, "Yes, it is. I've got another call." Who manages it is the key. Our council members, Claire Surratt, orchestrate a lot of the criminal behavior that happens, and they order the police what they can and cannot do. The Eugene police officers that have responded tell me they are handcuffed literally by what the city manager tells them, what calls they'll go on and how they'll handle it. That's why we have, and I empathize in part for the people that are unhoused, and I think that city needs to get with it and provide those big lots to give them some shelter. No one in the United States should have to be out in the cold, out in the snow, and be unfed. The city has failed miserably. If I had a choice, I would fire every one of them, starting with the manager, Sarah, Lucy, Claire. All of them need to be fired except for Mike Clark. There's not a one of them with a pound of rationality or reason in their heads. They're taking us on a blind psychedelic trip into nothingness. So no thanks. If I could chop myself off from City of Eugene services and the politicians that run it, I would do it in a minute. So that's another reason why you can have.
Kate, could I respond to that?
There's a question from the Zoom audience. Claire?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that. The city council does not give the city manager direction on which calls officers should not respond to. Police manages police resources, and he determines how to deploy those resources. He does not receive direction from the city council. We do have money to fill a lot of vacancies. We've got a lot of job postings. But in the current labor market, and because of the defund the police activities, people don't want to apply to be police officers. But this city council, all 8 of them, supports our police in addressing crime and responding to calls. And they are doing the best they can with the resources they have. And by resources, I mean the human beings that they have. They have money to spend, but they haven't been able to fill their vacancies. So I'm sorry that you are so disappointed with your city leadership, but it is not true that we have tied the hands of our law enforcement. And I apologize. I'm going to leave this meeting because I'm not really seeing the point of staying, but I appreciate the conversation. And
We're having a You're a liar. You're a council person and she doesn't want to represent. I was going to tell her that we're getting back to the subject at hand, but she chose to bug out. So that to me is an insult.
Yes.
Because I don't live in the Whitaker area. I live here. This is proposed here. And personally, if she's saying from her own mouth that they don't have enough law enforcement officers, that they're trying to get up to speed in that area, and yet Lane County is saying you're better off with the police from Eugene handling this corridor right here than you are with the sheriff, I vote no. I would rather call my sheriff, who actually has more jurisdiction than our governor, than any of them. I would go directly to the protection of the state, which is our state sheriff, who services us out here in the county. So it's like,
the next in the queue is Dan Isaacson, and then whoever this is, and then Jewel. Dan.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Great. So I'm listening, and I gotta say, I wanted to patch in with just some basic numbers that I think would be very helpful to the discussion. The city of Eugene is different from the city of Springfield in the fact that it doesn't have a jail. There is no city of Eugene jail. It does not exist. There's a county jail, and the city of Eugene rents a total of 15 beds for a town of 170,000 people. That means on the 16th person that's arrested, they get let out. That's math. That's just math. That's not the city council's fault. That's not the county commission's fault. That's your fault and my fault for not building a jail. It's that simple. So here's the reality. Here's the reality. If we want crime to go down, 4 things are required. You need police officers to arrest people. You need a DA to prosecute people. You need a place to house the people you have prosecuted, and you need a population willing to fund the first 3. And right now, for the past 20 years, we have not done that number 4. That is just the reality that we're in. The city of Eugene doesn't really want to build a jail because it,
Okay, the queue.
I will sit here because I'd like to say something.
Okay.
Well, I
Thanks,
just
Dan.
want to talk about the law enforcement on River Road. So we live on off River Road. We have 3 acres. We pay city taxes, which are gruesome. We can't get a city police officer out when we have people in our neighborhood vandalizing homes. So I wish I was in the county, because when I lived in the county over on West Anchor, guess what? They came. They came. So I don't want city, we don't have city protection. So when we talk about doing this, I don't see the advantage. The only advantage we have is we have a library card. Thank you. But I can use Amazon for that.
Okay.
Thank you
The
for
queue
sharing.
is Jewel, then Charlie, then
Janet.
thank you.
I had a question about efficiencies to the Lane County person. I had an incident several years ago where I called police on my neighbor, and I called the county, and the county said, well, your neighbor's in the city, so we can't do anything. And then the city said, well, you're in the county, we can't help you. So is this, the road's going to be annexed, but I'm still going to be in the county. So I just wanted to put that out, that that's kind of a problem for me, sort of passing the buck kind of thing. And I don't know if this annexation thing would make a difference or not.
Thank you for sharing.
It sounds like it wouldn't.
Charlie.
Let's take a look at some of the decisions that Eugene City Council has made. You guys are familiar with multi-unit property tax exemption. How many tens of millions of dollars are given away for development for projects and for real estate projects, these apartments that people can't afford to live in?
Right.
We gave away 20.4 million dollars in clear threat, and ahead with it for a track meet. For tax sensitization, for a track meet. The state had come up with $40 million, so that about $60 million was given away for a track meet.
Big interest.
Yeah, so when I sit here and hear that, well, we just don't have the money, but I take a look at the
That's not what
decision.
she said. She said they had the money. They
Well,
couldn't
yeah.
hire them.
Well, but that's what she said, but all the way along, they've been giving away money. So where's the money going?
That's what I want.
You know, how's it going? One of the things is that I've noticed, just through my life, when you have this kind of real estate development, a lot of it is owned, and nobody ever talks about it, by private equity or people that are outside the state. So a lot of those rents are leaving the state. So we're subsidizing through our tax exemptions, through these tax breaks, for some private equity firm maybe in Singapore to get our rents, and then it's gone. So we're losing twice. We're losing the rents that should stay with local landlords because that would circulate here, and then we're losing on the tax exemption. I'm sorry, there's something wrong here, and that needs to be changed, and somebody has to address that.
And
So,
Dan, the four mentions that you mentioned, you neglected to mention the number one is having leaders that listen to the people. And we have not had that for many years. And this is the dire straits that we are now in, is as you pointed out, they should have developed an economic model. They keep our dollars here local and prefer local business over shipping it out overseas, interstate, other states that are probably suffering and probably have better economic models than Oregon does. Oregon has been a welfare state for too long. It's time someone listens to the needs of the people and understands finance and economics and not present us with more taxes, more taxes.
Okay. Well, if you don't use the tax money, the business will always find a way to use it.
Yeah. Down to the penny.
Friend of ours lost 5 acres of property 15 years ago, and it was not.
I need to ask. What is the next step for you and your proposal?
The next step after tonight would be I'll go back to Public Works Engineering and let everyone know y'all's concerns, what y'all think about them.
I mean, you might want to say there was nobody in support.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And it's all recorded, and many people probably do it from home. So yeah, that's the next step. I go back and let my supervisor and department know that there seems to be no interest in this proposal.
But now what I don't want to see is they'll say, we'll show them, and then we'll do less maintenance on the road. So I don't want to see that.
How much?
I can't speak to that, sir. Sorry.
Take it back.
And how much of that is actually weighing?
I'm sorry?
How much of everyone's opinion is actually weighing on this?
You guys' opinion is the most important part of the process. We aren't even going to continue with the process if there is no support for it, because as far as I know, there's no.
Make sure Claire hears that.
Good. Okay. And do you have any contact information you want to give to people if they want to follow you or your supervisor and they can provide comment directly?
Anybody here or anybody listening from home is more than welcome to reach out to me through phone or through email. I have a few business cards with me, which these days I hardly get to pass them out. So I'm real excited for that. But I'm also happy to just tell you my email address if y'all have a pen and want to write it down. My name is Jonathan Patrick.
Okay, Jonathan Patrick.
And if anybody has a pen and wants to write it down, you can reach me at my city email. It's jpatrick, Patrick, at Eugene -or.gov. And like I said, I have a few business cards if anybody wants one. If you don't, I understand.
It'll be on the notes, I'm sure.
I'm sending it in the chat to the people.
And Jonathan, I'd like to say the public works people, City of Eugene are fine people. I speak to them often on the roads when they're doing the cleanups and things that have come about because of poor public policy by the governance of the city, but you folks, the employees of Portage Public Works are stellar. And not that I'm in favor of annexation, but City of Eugene has a fine group of public works folks.
Well, thank you for sharing that and for sharing your concerns.
Yes.
One last comment over here, and then we're going to move on in our agenda.
So John, I just want to thank you for your time coming here and hearing our opinions.
Yes.
And I just hope that you do understand the way that we feel about the presidency. Like being neighbors to the city team and we like to be good neighbors, but that's a little too cuddly for us. We feel a little too cuddled in that situation. And
I understand. Message received. And thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it. And all of the information. Thank you. Oh, nothing personal here, guys. I promise. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, so we're going to keep moving down